Hello and welcome to Adventures in Venueland, an EAMC podcast. This is your all-access pass to go backstage and behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds that cross the scope of the live entertainment industry. I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. We'll introduce you to some of our favorite people as we dive deep into the world of live touring shows and the venues that host them.
Heading out west today for our guest, Kim Allen, Sacramento Golden One Center. She is the director of arena marketing. Kim, thanks for making the time for us today.
Not a problem. And good morning to you both, or afternoon, I guess, now that you're on the East Coast. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you are officially the first guest after our EAMC virtual conference. We had our big event and arena marketing conference. Everything was virtual. We had a WWE guest open up for you.
Yeah.
So
great.
Drew McIntyre and now the headline act, Kim Allen. You said you were feeling no pressure at all today.
Right. Hopefully, the listeners don't drop off and you're like, you go from WWE superstar to just little old me.
Well, you have had quite the adventure that we look forward to digging into today. But my first question is, let's talk about Sacramento. So I think, everybody hears the name Golden One Center and Sacramento Kings, but not a lot of people have been to Sacramento. So kind of set the scene for somebody, because you aren't native to Sacramento, but somebody who has moved there. And what's the town like? What is the position in the market and in a very crowded state for entertainment?
Yes, no. I mean, like you said, I am originally from the Midwest and had not been to Sacramento until I came for an interview. And so I had been to California before. And so you hear California, you're like sun, beaches, LA, San Francisco, but Sacramento, I had never been. And so when it came to it, I came and visited. And in honesty, it's almost like the Midwest of California. I felt like I came in and it was not a small city, but somewhere where I felt manageable, where I felt like I could really fit in and live here and be super comfortable. And, you drive outside of Sacramento and you're like in farmland. I'm like, where am I at home in California? And then, we're close enough to the large cities that if you want that city life, I have it. But for me personally, I kind of enjoy the calmer setting. And so it's great. It's Northern California. It's hot in the summers, but amazing in the winters, get away from the Midwest winters. And it's been a great transition.
How do you, and I know that the team there at Golden One, how do you kind of make yourselves visible in California because I know that's been a big priority for the arena from the time it opened up?
Yes. And so I came in 6 months after the arena opened and they had already set great stepping stones into the messaging of what this building is. We are 100% solar powered energy for the building. It's, high tech. We love to tout all of the things that we are doing on that front. And we have an initiative with our food where 90% of our food comes from 150 miles away from the building. And so we really utilize the local farmers and, the assets that we have to the market. And so it's a unique location. And so we make sure that we use what we have at our hands to make us thrive. Let's do what we can with what we've got. And so I feel like Golden One Center has really done a great job in utilizing what we've got.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really sets you all apart from those other venues in California is your proximity to that countryside, like you said. And
yeah,
it's something that is becoming just even at EAMC Virtual, we had, a session about being green and touring green and stuff like that. And obviously there's Climate Pledge Arena, which is going to be opening soon. But I think Golden One really maybe kicked that off when they opened. I remember watching a video that you all put together that went through all the different green initiatives and talked about just having a chef on site and how we got all the products from like local farmers. And then it showed him preparing it in this kitchen. And I was like, what in the, going and seeing all these other arenas around the country, seeing just the amount of care and time and thought that went into every aspect of Golden One Center to really sort of embed it in the community, I think makes it stand out so much.
Agreed. And, coming from where I came from in the Midwest, To a point we have that, but not to this extent. And to hear the stories, of all our local eat stands where, we're pulling the product from the markets, we hear the stories of the butcher that raised all the farm animals, how much they've kind of, their business has boomed because our building opened up and we've been able to source their product. The farmers that are able to kind of utilize the produce that we are using in all of our foods. And so it's local, it's farm to fork, it's, everything that you want to tout in our own way.
You guys call it farm to court, right? There. And am I right that you are also 100% solar powered?
Yes. And so, we have solar panels on our building, and it provides, I believe it's about 30% of the solar power for the building. And we do source the rest of the energy from a solar farm. But, what we utilize on site is 100% solar power. And so over the summer, we also try to do solar days where we shut down as much of the building as we can if there's not a need to have anything open, and really only use the solar power that is generated from our roof for those days. And so, trying to minimize our impact on, the energy here in California. And so just really doing what we can to make a difference. There are going to be dark days over the summer, and with how hot and the solar energy that we are able to provide, it's amazing that we have this opportunity to do it.
I know there's a number of other really unique things you all do. Like you have, if I'm not mistaken, your own record store. Is that correct? In the lobby, during normal times, normal non-pandemic, or at least you had one. I thought that was really an interesting idea and thought.
This was so cool. Yeah, you're right, Paul.
Yes, we have amplified records. And so it was a thought thrown out to the wind to say, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? And the way the building is set up, unfortunately, our box office isn't in the most convenient places. So during a Kings game, if we wanted to run an offer to send people to the box office to buy tickets, it's not in the most ideal location for people to go. Like they essentially have to leave the building and then come back in through our media entrance to be able to purchase those tickets. So thought to the wind, why don't we try to have something that we could really utilize in arena? And so take it a next step. Why don't we make it a record store and work with our local record company to source records of upcoming artists? Take it a step further. It also include, being able to buy tickets. And so it ended up working out. We were able to create this space in an old merch stand. So it was an old team store that didn't really sell as much as we'd wanted. So we converted it into a record store, a box office utilized during Kings games. And, we've been able to run promotions out of there. We were able to launch it with Steve Aoki, kind of being able to push some of his records from there as well during one of the Kings games where he was performing at. And so it really took on its own presence. And, it really just stemmed from being able to sell tickets to people coming to Kings games.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's so clever.
I love that idea of wouldn't it be cool if?
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, a lot of us in this industry have those conversations, but nothing ever comes of it. To be in a place that takes advantage of that is a great opportunity. Over 68% of the country is now streaming their TV content. With live events finally coming back, are you getting your message in front of your potential customers who are streaming?
Traditional television advertising is becoming a thing of the past. Over-the-Top Marketing specializes in buying OTT and connected TV media, and that is all they do.
Over the Top finds your potential ticket buyers in the specific geography that makes sense for the event. Over the Top has become a leader in the OTT space, even if you're already working with an agency. It'd be worth your time to compare services and pricing.
Don't blanket a campaign when you can target it. Work with the top OTT agency in the live event industry. Go to OTTLiveEvents.com now to learn more and get a free assessment of your needs.
That's OTTLiveEvents.com, or you can call 1-888-212-8714. Golden One Center obviously launched out to a huge start, and then the last year and a half have been kind of interesting. Walk us through what things have been like for you during the pandemic, from that time of March 2020 to where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going back to the start of all of this. It was, the Sacramento Kings had a game against the New Orleans Pelicans. It was going to be nationally televised. I think it was the first one of the season. So we were amped, pumped. Cut to the game, they canceled it. It was I believe we had the Dallas game was right before that. And they started shutting things down. Then it was our game, and it was like fans were in the building. We had to.
Oh, you actually had people in the
Oh
building.
yeah, we had people in the building.
Wow.
It was the mumblings of like the phones going off, and everyone's like, "What is
Sure.
going on?" We were able to throw up the message, say, the game has been canceled. And I believe we were in the office the rest of that week before our business itself said everyone is going to be working from home. Who would have thought that the industry could have shut down as it did, but it did. And we tried to do whatever we could after that to kind of follow up on projects, wrap up the season, do what we could, because there was so much that no one knew. And so we were kind of just flying by the seat of our pants and trying to figure things out. And then as we got closer and we had to start canceling, postponing, and doing things, unfortunately, I was furloughed starting in, I believe it was June 1st was my first day. And so, I was able to kind of close out as much as I can, but then I was furloughed for 6 months. And unfortunately, it was just a time of reflection. I work in an industry where I never would have thought things would have shut down, but they did. And
Yeah.
it kind of just made you reflect on, wow, what do I do? This is something I've kind of put my life into for over a decade. And now what? I work in events. There was always going to be events in my head. People would always need something to, laugh and smile and go and enjoy. And to have that completely shut down was eye opening. But knock on wood, I came out of it better than a lot. And so I'm very fortunate in that regard. And so I kind of take it with a grain of salt and kind of glass half full and kind of just go from there.
During the furlough period, did you think about leaving the industry? Did you think about like, oh, if the live entertainment industry doesn't come back, what am I going to do? Did you get to that point?
It kind of lingered in my mind, but I can't say that I was ready to take that jump yet. I was the reason that me and my husband had moved across the country. And so
Right.
we had packed up our lives and moved to California for my job. And so it was one of
Right.
those, I was going to wait it out as long as I could. And so I didn't look into other employment. I try to kind of just hone my skills and just kind of look back and just do things that made me happy. I did a lot of reading. I watched TV and Netflix, but as much as you can, I got tired of that very quickly. But, just
Sure.
kind of going back to doing the things that we never had time for, and or just doing nothing and being able to enjoy the freedom of just being able to enjoy some time to yourself.
That's a great way to put it. I think so many, I was, as someone who was also furloughed, it was one of those things that, of course, you take the time to reflect on your current situation, but also working in live events, you're so run and gun all the time. You honestly can't almost appreciate the downtime because your mind is going at 100% all the time. So even
Yeah.
when you're not working an event, you're thinking, what's that next promotion I've got to work on? Oh, I've got this meeting this afternoon. Oh, I've got this on Monday. So it's like you're always go, go, go. And so I think that was an interesting adjustment, but something that I feel like I'm better for, and you spoke to it as well, that you're better for, is that, it allowed us to sort of appreciate the downtime and the importance of the downtime that maybe we didn't quite look at the same way prior to this last year.
Agreed.
Well, I definitely felt, as I watched so many of my good friends get furloughed, and I went through a redeployment, and it was a rough time. But I know that things are getting busy and getting back into the swing of live events, and I look forward to talking to you about that here in a minute. But I want to take things back a ways a minute. I know you said you're from the Midwest, but Kim, where were you born?
I was born in Beloit, Wisconsin, and raised in South Beloit, Illinois. So state line of the Illinois-Wisconsin border.
Did I hear the city name was the same, but in two different states?
Correct. So South Beloit, Illinois is just under the border.
Is there a rivalry between the two states?
No, not at all. Well, other than like football, Bears versus
Sure.
Packer fans. And
Oh,
for some
yeah.
reason, I grew up a Packer fan living in Illinois. So that was always contentious, but that's the most of it. But people make fun, but it's all in good fun.
So from there, what made you a fan of the live event industry? What kind of sparked that interest for you?
You know, it's interesting. I don't think I knew that I had this interest until I went to college. I went to South Beloit, Illinois, high school. I honestly graduated. I think the count was like 34 kids. There's 5,000 people in my town, like a very small community. And I
Yeah.
decided to go to the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. And so university with 40,000 people. And so I think it was one of those. I grew up my whole life knowing everyone knowing me. I wanted to be able to go someplace where I could be a nobody and be okay with that. And so my brother was there at the time as well. So I knew I had someone, but it was one of those, hey, if it doesn't work out and I'm overwhelmed, I can always transfer. So it was an option. So I decided to go 3.5 hours away. So far enough that my parents, couldn't see me all the time. And I really had to figure things out. Like if I got homesick, I couldn't just go home at the drop of a hat. Like it had to be kind of
Sure.
worked through. And so I got to school, and one of the first things I remember visiting my brother prior to going, and one of the things he took me to was a Fighting Illini football game. And from there, I was hooked. I've always enjoyed watching athletic events and events itself, but it wasn't until like I went there to be in the atmosphere of something so big I had never experienced before. And, going through college, I went to football games, I went to basketball games, I went to concerts, but it was until I think my junior year that the Assembly Hall at the time, it's now a different name, but they had an externship. I had never heard of this, but it was essentially
What's that again? An externship?
an externship. So
All
you
right,
could
all right.
apply to an
Interesting.
externship, and it was essentially for a handful of mentor kind of meetings and kind of conversations. And at the end of it, you got to work or like shadow someone working a live event. And so I got to talk to the director of marketing at the time, the director of group sales, and kind of just talk through their job. And the show I ended up working was a Foo Fighter show.
Oh, lucky, lucky.
I wasn't a fan. I appreciated the music, but then just to be, as as we work in it, under the lights with the crowd, backstage, seeing how everything works, I was hooked. It really took until, college that I understood that I could work in something like this and really use the things that I love doing and have it be a part of my career. In college, I was fortunate enough to work for the athletic department in marketing and sports information. I then got into the assembly hall as an actual intern to be able to do a little bit more after I fell in love of the externship. And so, I got the sports side, I got the event side. It opened my eyes to so many things.
Well, and then you ended up becoming an EAMC intern, right? Was that when you were in college? How did you find out
Yeah.
about that? Was that the local venue that you were shadowing kind of tipped you off to it, or how did
Yes.
you stumble into that?
So prior to my senior year, I applied for the internship for the following school year. So it wouldn't start until the fall. And I was fortunate enough to be picked as one of the interns for the year. And Jenny Larson, who was the director of marketing at the time, kind of let me know, hey, there's a conference that I go to. They look for interns. Technically, because you've been hired, even though you haven't done the job yet, you can apply to be an intern. So I did. And I was picked. And so my first really foray before really doing a job at school, at university, was the EAMC conference in Dallas, Texas. And so I was, about to start my senior year. I had been thrown into this conference to be able to do, what I could during the conference, but then to see all these people within the industry, it shocked me. Like the energy, everyone being so excited to be there, and the relationships that I could see that people had. It was eye-opening and inspiring, and obviously I'm on the board now, so hook line and sinker, it got me.
We are so glad you're part of EAMC and everything there, and excited work with you on a live event for 2022 as we bring things back in person there. But take us back to those early assembly hall days at State Farm Arena now.
Yes.
But right, this was a traditional, college town venue. Am I right that at the time, no air conditioning?
No air conditioning.
Like,
I'm going back. I can't remember. Like,
you guys
I think
didn't do a
you're
lot of
right.
shows in the summer. I think that was all part of the recent renovation there.
Yes, no, I think you're right. I think that there weren't a lot in the summer, but I think that most of the events were during the school year in the wintertime, and it was cool enough that, it wasn't too hot, even with the thousands of people. You're right. Wow. Going back, Dave,
There are a lot of talent has come out of Assembly Hall there.
Dave knows his venue AC really well. He's got it all down pat.
On the side, I'm trying to get a venue AC conference started. I don't know, AC. I'm working on it.
There you go.
But from there, you take a little trip out of Illinois and up to Wisconsin. So take us through your kind of time and how that transition happened for you.
Yeah, and this was a funny story too. My senior year, I'm coming up to graduating and realizing I need a job. And so, I pull out my EAMC book that I'd had since the summer and started just emailing people to set up informational meetings. I'd already planned some trips to see friends and family over the summer. So, I went all over the spectrum. I, went and had an informational meeting at Spadison Square Garden. I went to the U.S. Tennis Association in New York. I was out in L.A. I dreamed big coming from, little Midwest girl. And then, I saw that there was someone from Milwaukee. And so I'm like, that's not far from home. That'll be my backup. And so I applied to all these places and no one really had a marketing position open except for Milwaukee. And so Paul Jansen at the time, it was the Bradley Center. It's now been demolished and they have a new building, the FISA Forum. But Paul Jansen at the time answered my email, set up an interview. And next thing I know, I was hired as a marketing coordinator at a building that essentially didn't have a marketing department. And so they essentially had a lot of people kind of do what they could to announce show, get things done, but there was no official marketing person. It was
Doesn't that kind of blow your mind now?
Right. I mean, it was one of those, like, as I came in, I found out I had my first job. I was so excited. And as I was getting training, it was like, oh, this person helped me with this part of the job. This person helped me with this person, and it was like, I'm pulling so many things off of people's plates to do marketing that I'm like, wow, like people were spread thin, but they got things done. But, I could tell that once I really got into my groove and learned how to do my job, that people were like, I don't know how we did it without you.
Yeah, I think it's so like marketing is sometimes afterthought when you talk to people that are in operations. Everyone is so laser focused on making sure the event goes smoothly.
Yeah. That
people in operations are kind of like, oh, okay, well, we'll market it, or that'll do its own. It'll kind of handle its own. So it is kind of this funny thing where I'm sure, like you said, everyone was dividing it up. And then when you came in, they're like, oh, wow. So we can really spread the word on this a lot if we have someone in marketing. Why didn't we do this a long time ago?
And, I'm so glad that I ended up deciding to go and work in Milwaukee because that was 2008. And so the following year, the market crashed. And so no one was getting jobs, and, touring kind of took a hit because of, where things were. And so it was an interesting time. They unfortunately kept me on and I was able to kind of learn through that process. But throughout my career, I've been through a market crash. I've been through, a pandemic. And so, we'll see what happens in the next decade.
A decade of nothing eventful, hopefully. Nothing crazy. So, how do you get then from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where you spent about 9 years there, to Sacramento?
Yeah. So Milwaukee was great. It was such a family. It was an interesting dynamic because, towards the end of my career there, it was in a headspace that everyone knew that the building was kind of on its last leg. The Milwaukee Bucks has gotten new ownership. There was going to be a new building. And so everyone was kind of in a position of, where does that take us? And because of the new ownership and trying to figure out who they're going to interview to move forward and what they were going to do with positions. I knew that I wasn't just going to be grandfathered in, that regardless, I was going to have to re-interview for my job. And so I hadn't really done anything outside of my initial interview 9 years prior in that sense of being interviewed. And so I started to kind of look around, and honestly, I saw the position open at Sacramento and I didn't think I was qualified enough. I was like, this is great. Like, it's a great position. I would love to be there someday. So why not just interview for it? Hone up on my interview skills.
Yes.
That once, Milwaukee's ready to kind of get to me, I'll be ready and I'll have already kind of brushed
Sure.
up and kind of gotten my skills in line. And so next thing I know, I'm 3 interviews deep. They're flying me out and I've been given a position, or not given, but they asked me to join their team. And I think it was on the plane ride over with my husband that I'm like, okay, so if they give me this job, we're really going to have to talk about this. Like, would we
Right.
move?
You
And
might
so
actually have to decide.
yeah, and honestly, it was one of those, like, I didn't think I was there yet. I was a manager at the time. I had been there at for a few years, and that was always going to be my next step. But was I ready for that? Did I think I was there yet? No. But I'm glad that I took that initiative to kind of interview for something that I didn't think that I was qualified for. To know that jumping in, I really was. I just had never pushed myself to really get and do what I was capable of. I think I had gotten stagnant a little bit and kind of used to, how things were done. Milwaukee was home. It was comfortable and I had gotten into a rhythm. And I think I'd gotten a little complacent, honestly. And so going out to Sacramento really pushed me professionally to hone my skills, make sure, like, utilize everything I've learned, but also make sure that all the ideas that had been running through my mind where I'd have to kind of, pass on to my boss, I was now the boss that I could kind of implement and try to get people to do things. And so it was exciting, it was fun, and I got the, given the position. My husband and I are like, we don't have kids, there's nothing holding us back. So why not take something that is actually given versus holding back and waiting for a possibility? Because, I didn't know what was going to happen in
Sure.
Milwaukee. So I took the job, moved, and haven't looked back.
Was it interesting going from a building with an NBA team to another building with an NBA team? Was that comfortable, or was it kind of, were you seeing the difference? And obviously you're doing a lot of arena marketing at both, but what was that experience like, kind of going from a pro team building to another pro team building? Because a lot of
Yeah.
people that, listen or work in this industry may not have a pro team at all, or might have hockey or, NBA. But was there some way that you were able to kind of pull some of that knowledge of partnerships and implement it in Sacramento?
Yeah, I would say a lot of that kind of came to be. We're in Milwaukee at the time. I think they've changed how things work currently, but I was a part of the nonprofit that ran the building, and the Milwaukee Bucks were a tenant. And so we were very much separated. So, as much as we wanted to try to do promotions in game, it was like a process to get things approved and really
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
work through their organizations to get things done. When I went to Golden One Center and the Sacramento Kings, they are much more aligned with each other. And so, when it came to Kings games and things like that, it wasn't a, hey, can I get something in? They reached out to me and said, hey, Kim, we've got availability. Do you have a show you'd like to promote? And so it like opened my eyes to be like, wow, okay, so we are really kind of in a different type of mindset. And so let's really kind of utilize the King side to get things done. And so I was always under the premise of, as an arena, as a show, we don't have a ton of money to do certain things. An NBA team, they have a much larger budget and things that they can do and team members to really kind of do things. And so, I could utilize the entertainment team, I could utilize group sales and, really help push our events. And so it took a little bit of coaching in certain levels, but, it was much easier to kind of really integrate into the team side because we are one and the same.
One thing, Kim, that I really taken away from talking to you today is, wouldn't it be cool if, here you were in a very, unique situation in Milwaukee, and you kind of said, I don't know if I could do this, but wouldn't it be cool if I just interviewed for it? And I'm going to speak directly to everybody listening today, because I think we've all had those moments where we think, oh, wouldn't that be cool? But we never act on it. You actually did. And I think that's just awesome. And congratulations to you. And I think that's a real inspiration to a lot of the folks out there listening today who maybe think that, I don't know if I'm qualified for that yet, or I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of change, but you went ahead and took the leap, and it's been a great opportunity for you.
It really has. And, prior to this call and talking to you, I've kind of just like sat back and thought about my journey. And in certain days, I still feel like I'm that intern or that like fresh out of college marketing person that, has so much to learn. And, it really blew my mind the first time I had staff that I was training and helping them start their career, that I was like, oh, I'm that person now that's like helping, lead the new generation of marketers for arena marketing. And
Yeah,
so
you are.
it really threw me off because I didn't think I was there or old enough to be in that position. But hey, it's an exciting time that I still feel like there's so much to learn, but I'm glad that I'm able to kind of pass on the knowledge of what knowledge I have to the next group of people. And, kind of alluding back to like the king side, really teaching people the arena side of things. And because of the furloughs and things of that sort of the pandemic, I have taken on more King's marketing initiatives. And so really working with teams and then also educating them on the arena side, because it is so different and how things work takes a different type of process. So, in a way, it's kind of making sure that we're all aligned and kind of on the same page. And so while it may not be a direct like contact for me to assist with in growing their career, it is working with other departments to really open up their eyes to the arena side.
Well, I think there's this shared struggle too that happened in the last year, right? Whereas in previous years, you would have the team side and you would have the venue side, and there might be some sort of friction there, or one saying they're more important than the other, or, ooh, we bring in more events, or we have more money. But I think over this last year, everyone went through that ringer together, like the teams and and who cares who is most important? Guess what? This pandemic shut us both down, and we're both trying to restart. So hopefully that's brought about this new perspective on both sides and allowed, teams and buildings to better partner and have a new, outlook on how they can help, raise that tide and bring both programs back.
Agree.
Kim, you talked about exciting times and passing the knowledge along to the next generation. I feel like this is an appropriate time to ask you about the most exciting news for you personally. You're a new mom, right?
I am a new mom, 5 weeks now. It's been
Yay.
amazing. We took a different path when we found out that we couldn't have our own biological children. And so we went through the process of adoption. And 5 weeks ago, I went to bed with just me and my husband. The next morning, I woke up to a text that changed our lives. By that afternoon, we were on a plane. And a week later, we came home with our new son. So it's been great.
What's his
That's
name?
so exciting.
His name is Donovan. And for someone who is only 5 weeks old, there's so much personality. And, I never realized how many diapers you go through with a newborn, how much laundry such a tiny human can make. But it's been such fun. And one of the, benefits of being able to work from home is really being able to spend time with him in these first few, years, weeks, months of his life.
Yeah.
And, and I hope that, as long as I can work from home, I'm going to continue to do it. And that's something as well, is that I'm still currently working. And so I think I had a little bit of trauma being furloughed for so long that I kind of went to my HR and said, I know I have a new child, but I think that I'd still like to work as long as I can, mentally, as long as I'm capable, because I can't just go back to nothing, because I did nothing and it was great, but I don't want to go back there just yet.
Right.
What a big change of time for you, and congratulations. We're also happy for you. I know that's the abbreviated version, and it was quite the journey to get to where you are today. But I can truly speak for so many of us who've come to know you over the years at EAMC, when our hearts are truly just filled with joy for you and your husband.
Absolutely.
As we begin this next chapter.
Thank you. And it was amazing to feel all the love for someone that we didn't even know existed until 5 weeks ago. So, it's been amazing to kind of just feel, regardless of where we are in our lives, of when I met them, that how much of the love I felt outpouring once we kind of made that announcement about Donovan.
That's great. This podcast is brought to you by Carbon House.
Tired of your 10-year-old venue website? Does it take you 30 minutes to add an event? Pulling your hair out, hoping your website will survive that next big on sale? Well, it is time for an upgrade, and Carbon House is there to help.
Carbon House, a proud partner of the Event and Arena Marketing Conference for well over a decade, is obsessed with making the event marketer's life easier.
They don't just make beautiful websites. They make beautiful websites that are simple to manage and sell more tickets.
Find out why your peers rave about Carbon House and visit them at www.carbonhouse.com. Built exclusively for event and arena marketers.
Now it's showtime.
Over 68% of the country is now streaming their TV content. With live events finally coming back, are you getting your message in front of your potential customers who are streaming?
Traditional television advertising is becoming a thing of the past. Over-the-Top Marketing specializes in buying OTT and connected TV media, and that is all they do.
Over the Top finds your potential ticket buyers in the specific geography that makes sense for the event. Over the Top has become a leader in the OTT space, even if you're already working with an agency. It'd be worth your time to compare services and pricing.
Don't blanket a campaign when you can target it. Work with the top OTT agency in the live event industry. Go to OTTLiveEvents.com now to learn more and get a free assessment of your needs.
That's OTTLiveEvents.com, or you can call 1-888-212-8714. Before we wrap things up here, things are rocking again at the Golden One Center. You're working from home, but you guys are announcing lots of shows. Kind of, where are you guys at right now in the scheme of things?
We are in a new spot. Our governor yesterday opened up the California. We are at 70% vaccinated. And so anyone that's been vaccinated doesn't have to wear a mask. And currently until, I believe, October 1st, any event that we have, we're just asking that people are fully vaccinated or take a negative test. And so I was really unsure if these events were going to happen a month or two ago, but we are moving forward. We've got our first event, PBR, followed up by Monster Jam. And so, we are rolling. In August here, we're going to have our first major event in, I don't even know how long.
A long time, way too long.
Too long, yes.
Throughout this whole run, one of the things that I noticed, I see a lot on Golden One Center's social media is that you guys are great with social activism and community partners. You have the giant video screens on the sides of the arenas, right, where you display, like you right now, I think something special for Pride Month. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about kind of how Golden One Center has decided to become, and even you personally, I know you're a member of our DEI committee as well with the Event and Arena Marketing Conference. So talking about how, this is important for the building and important for you.
Yeah, I mean, it really came from the top down. The owner of the Kings, Vivek Ranadive, he is very passionate about social issues. And so from there, it's kind of as an organization, it's what can we do for our community, for our various groups within the organization. And so it's always been something since I've been there that has been a priority, which is amazing. During the start of my career, I didn't quite feel that. Towards the end, it started to ramp up, unfortunately, because of the many things that were happening in the world. But, to really be a part of an organization that takes it the next step further and make sure that they are doing whatever they can to bring any assistance, any kind of recognitions to all communities. It's been an amazing kind of way to be a part of it. And for those that can't see me, I am an Asian American woman. My husband is biracial, so he is Black and white, and my son is African American. And so knowing that we were doing adoption and growing up as like the very few Asians within a very small community, it was something that was near and dear to my heart because my family is very diverse. And so I wanted to make sure that I did my part to push my message, my son's message, anyone's message, really, that all voices need to be heard and everyone has a story to tell. And so you need to be able to give them that platform to tell said story. But, it hasn't been something that has been so easily done as it is in today's world. But even with the ease of being able to tell the said story, we have to be able to have the allies to kind of push it as well. And so I think that, and I'm rambling here, but kind
No,
of
this
like,
is good stuff.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Within my professional career, being able to do that within my volunteerism with the conference and being able to help push that as well, and making sure that the industry continues to push itself. And then personally, making sure that I do my part to learn and educate myself and just really be able to let everyone know about various issues within, that could happen to my family. It could happen to everyone's family. And so it's a part of my life, regardless if I acknowledge it or not. So why not, take that step and just do something about it and take the advantages that I've been given to speak up and kind of talk about, issues and things that we can do to help push communities to be better.
I think it's such an important message, and I think you are a great example of that, because from that externship to that EAMC internship to the connections you made, because someone said, "No, why not Kim? Wouldn't it be cool if she could go and intern at EAMC, or wouldn't it be cool?" And so you had those opportunities that I don't want to say they were given to you, but you worked for them. But
yes.
Wouldn't it be cool if we can continue to offer those opportunities and find people and get them into the industry and create a more diverse industry as a whole? That's a goal of EAMC. I know a goal of our DEI committee, and I know it's something that's important to you. So I do appreciate you taking the time to speak on that.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right. So before we let things go on a little bit of a lighter note, we like to do a little our fast five, right? So we're just five quick questions. Da, 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 da. All right. So here we go. I know you're ready. First concert.
NSYNC.
Your favorite concert.
John Legend.
Last TV show you binged was?
Snowpiercer.
Oh, nice. How about the favorite venue that you haven't worked at?
Staples Center.
How about your theme song? So Kim Allen has got her own TV crews that follow around her high jet set in life there in Sacramento, and it's all about you. The TV show is all about you. What is the song that plays over the opening credits to the Kim Allen show?
Dynamite by BTS. I am a sucker for poppy, happy
BTS.
pop music.
Oh man, love it.
And it can, you listen to it and it can't help put a smile on your face.
Absolutely. I think that's what people say when they hang out with you though too, Kim. So we appreciate you joining us for this today. Before we let you go, any plugs you want to give? Social media, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I cut the cord on Twitter and the other ones just because it wasn't making me happy. And so find me on Instagram, Kim Allen 822. And I'm not as active as I once was, but when I do post, it's big monster announcements.
There you go. And Golden One's a great follow on social too, so you can find all their links there through their website. Kim, thanks again for taking the time to join us today. We really do appreciate all your Wouldn't It Be Cool If adventures.
Oh yes, and I love that. That's where you took it. And wouldn't it be cool if this could go on forever?
I completely I think we're right there with you. Yeah. Hey, thanks to everybody for listening to Adventures in Venueland. Remember, you can subscribe and find more episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. We love your 5-star reviews so you can help others find us. Until the next adventure, I'm Dave Rettelberger.
And I'm Paul Hooper. Thanks for listening, everyone. Adventures in Venueland is a side project of the Event and Arena Marketing Conference, a nonprofit organization bringing together people in the field of live entertainment to discuss marketing, publicity, and sales trends. Find out more at eventarenamarketing.com.
Audio editing and mixing by Camille Faulkner.
Design and digital advertising by Megan Ebeg.
Copywriting and publicity by Samantha Marker.
Guest booking and brand strategies by Paul Hooper.
Guest research by Dave Rettelberger.
Marketing strategies by Paul Hooper, Megan Ebeck, and Samantha Marker. Thanks for joining us. Until the next adventure.